Hey kids, Dad here. Doing something a little unusual, but it is 12:05 a.m. So it is technically Thursday, August 13, 2026. I haven't gone to bed yet from the last video, but it's 12:05 a.m., 12:06 a.m. And there's just something I had to share. It's on my mind, on my heart, and it is August 13, Thursday, August 13, technically. So I had something pretty inspiring I just got to witness. I had an old friend of mine, very good friend. His name is James, and I was in the Army with James. We spent a couple years together. Shared a lot of laughs, a lot of sweat. He was a guy who'd spent some time active duty as well. He's a kid. He's got some graduate degrees. Motivated, squared away soldier on top of his game. So we hit it off pretty well because we were kind of surrounded by a bunch of knuckleheads in that during those assignments we had together. So in any event, I kept in touch with James over the years, and there's some years that we didn't keep in touch as tight, and then we've reconnected after well, in 2011, 2012, when I married your mother, he was at the wedding. So after the Army, met your mom, got married, he was at the wedding. Then a couple years, kind of as you kids were born, and life got really busy, raising young kids. We didn't talk for a couple years. But we reconnected after a few years of kind of, getting busy with young kids. And he's got a son. And Cav, his son actually drew you a picture. I had it at that apartment in Egan because him and his son came and visited. Stayed in that apartment with me for a night or two. I got to hang out with them. And his boy is about the same age as you, Cav, and really, really cool kid. And one of the things that me and James really connected over is he's a single father. He's not married to the mother of his child. So in any event, that's a long way of saying that this is somebody I'm very, very close to. And he's one of maybe a dozen guys who, when he texts me, like he did at, 9 o'clock last night, technically, I immediately just rang him back. Dropped what I was doing, just rang him back and said, "What's up, James?" And he was crying. He was in tears. And he said that the mother of his child, who, they're not married, they don't have probably the best relationship, but they raise a child together, right? They share time, with the same child. And he said that she had told him that she had a problem, which I understand immediately to mean with drugs or alcohol. So she told James that she has a problem and she needs help. She was in a tough spot. And he was obviously devastated about that because no matter what happens, when people share a child together, there's a special bond there. And so he was devastated, and he said that he doesn't really know how to, how in recovery and sobriety, in things like Alcoholics Anonymous, what to do, because that's not part of his experience. So he asked if I had any advice or any kind of, what should I do, basically. And I immediately asked him, is she comfortable sharing her contact info? And he said, yeah, she'll do anything right now. She's hurting. And I don't normally work with women in terms of sobriety. I work with a lot of men. All the guys at Bravo Zulu House, they're all guys in early sobriety, early recovery. I do what's called sponsoring, they call it. Got a couple of guys that I've taken through the steps. I know how to do it, right? But I've always done it for men, because in recovery programs, typically men stick to men, women stick to women. It just gets all sorts of messy otherwise, and I just try and avoid all that. So I immediately, once he sent me her contact info, I said, give me 5 minutes. And I sent out a text message to 4 gals that I know. I've met 3 of them in person. One of them not quite yet, but I will be meeting her in person this November at an event. And these are 4 gals who I look up to as superheroes in sobriety. They run very good programs. They take their sobriety, their recovery very seriously. They work with other women. They're very involved in the sobriety community. They're the kind of people who, there's a meeting I host on Tuesdays, I've invited 3 of the 4 so far to come in and be a guest speaker for the meeting because I know they carry a strong message. So they're 4 gals that I know personally that I admire and respect very much. So I sent out just an SOS text message to the 4, and I said, if any one of you are available, there's a gal who's a friend of a dear friend of mine. She's just admitted she has a problem with drugs or alcohol, and she needs help. And if any of you are available, I can give you her contact number. Please let me know. Within 10 minutes, all 4 had responded. And they all said, because they could see that they were on a group chat with other people on there. And all 4 of them said, I'm so-and-so from such and such place, to introduce themselves to other people on the text that they didn't know, because they don't all know each other. But they said, yep, this is so-and-so. Here's my, have her call me. You have my blessing to give her my number. And then I shared with them her number. And then these girls started doing this magic they do, where one of the gals was texting with this person in trouble. Another one of the gals got on the phone with her, was talking to her, and they're off and running, helping this gal. And ultimately what they'll probably end up doing is, getting to understand, what she's going through, what her challenge is, kind of what her situation is. Is she currently intoxicated? Is she currently in danger? What kind of resources does she think she needs? And from there, getting her introduced to the program, to a recovery program. And they'll probably do that because none of these gals are 2 of them are in California, one's in Massachusetts, one's in Florida. This girl who's in trouble was in Denver. So none of them can just go to her house, like I'm sure they would have done had they been in the same city as her. But they're connecting her with people in Denver. And hopefully they can get this gal into a recovery, whether it's a treatment center for immediate medical assistance, or whether it's a meeting for a recovery program, a 12-step program, be that Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous. There's a lot of these different 12-step programs. But to get this girl some local resources, to get her in direct touch with people who are in Denver who can help this girl. And it was so absolutely inspiring, kids, to be able to put out a text message just saying, there's a girl in Denver who I don't know, but she's the mother of the child of someone very important to me. Can you help her? And these gals, they knew immediately what and how to do it. It's called 12-step work in recovery, where you introduce somebody to, hey, you have a problem, you're asking for help, I can help. And we've got a whole chapter in a book on how to do that. And I know and trust these girls. So I didn't have to follow up and say, hey, are you handling it? Is she being taken care of? I was just able to circle back to my friend James and say, hey, how's she doing? And he said, she's texting with so-and-so right now. She's on the phone with so-and-so. And they got her some of the resources she needed. And it just fills my heart in a way, kids, that I can't even explain. The fact that I've been able to get to know these 4 strong, sober women, and for them to take my text. It's such an honor and a privilege and a blessing to have gals like this in my life. And then a blessing as well that a dear friend of mine like James, in his moment of emotional breaking down over it, that he was able to give me a call. And then ultimately that there's some random girl who I've never met. I've met her son. Her son's awesome. You'd love him, Cav. He's a good artist. But that girl out in Denver is able to raise her hand to tell the father of her son, hey, I have a problem and I need help. And that this network of, hell, I'm going to call them angels, is able to sweep in these 4 gals and get this girl the help she needed tonight. And I know I'll follow up with James tomorrow to see how he's doing, because clearly this is difficult for him as well. And what happens with this gal in Denver? I don't know. God will handle that part. Maybe this is the start for her of an awesome, awesome journey for recovery. Maybe it just gets her through a night when she needed a friend. I don't know. I've come to learn that I'm not in the results business. I'm in the effort and action business. God handles the results. But, yeah, I don't have any fancy conclusions to this little journal for you kids, other than to say there are people in this world who, when you raise your hand and say, I have a problem, I need help, there are people who you have never met, who you will never meet, will never know, who are eager to jump into action and to help. So what's the lesson here, kids? I don't know. I have a full heart tonight. I wanted to share this. It was the first time I've ever had a situation like this in almost 2 years of my own sobriety, and doing this kind of thing with men. I've seen it happen. I've been a part of it happening before. I know how to handle it, but to have these 4 gals, I'd love to name drop them. I won't do that, but I think all 4 of them are familiar with you kids. They know about you, and I hope one day you get to meet them, because these girls are superheroes. Love you, kids. We'll talk soon.